News18 Network and Truecaller took the fight against harassment to another Indian state with the recently held Call It Out Telangana Townhall to drive change and empower women to fight back. Key stakeholders like policymakers, law enforcers, social organizations and influential voices from diverse fields discussed ways to protect women in the digital age and deliberated upon the role that men can play to fight women harassment. The town hall opened with a pre-recorded interaction with KT Rama Rao, Cabinet Minister for IT, Electronics and Communications, Municipal Administration and Urban Development and Industries and Commerce departments in the Telangana Government.
Hyderabad is one of the backbones of the IT sector in India. We would like to know more about the importance of digital in your governance and the initiatives that are key to your government.
Well, lots of digital awareness campaigns. In fact, much before the Government of India had started Digital India campaign, Government of Telangana had embarked on a Digital Telangana mission, and through which we have not only promoted digital literacy, but we've also ensured that a lot of citizen-facing services have been digitized. In fact, we're one of those few states in India, which excels in delivering services through the digital infrastructure that we have built over the last several years. One of the things that we take a lot of pride in, much before demonetization, much before the COVID, in fact, the number of digital transactions that were happening through our Me Seva, network is something truly astounding. More than a few crores of transactions that have happened, and more than a few $1 billion of worth transactions have happened through this Me Seva system. So a lot of digital infrastructure improvements that have happened and that continue to be ramped up even as we speak. Of course, COVID has shown us that we are more and more reliant, on the digital infrastructure. So we continuously ramp up, and most importantly, like I said, government to government and government to citizen connect is something that we take a lot of pride in.
India's digital economy, sir, is growing exponentially, but one of the major challenges in this digital era is online safety. Please give us an overview of the extent of online harassment, cybercrime and cyberbullying that is there in Telangana. I'm sure you're privy to some data and the measures that are being taken by your government to address this. Also, yours is the first state to draft its own legislation in cybercrime. What will be its role in strengthening women's safety in the digital world?
Well, as we become more and more dependent on networks, as we become more and more reliant on connectivity virtually, as we become more and more, in fact, addicted, as we get more and more addicted to all the digital media platforms, I think, one of the occupational hazards, if you have to put it that way, is unfortunately, this whole abusive content that, gets thrown at us, and also the other unfortunate, possible outcome is again cybercrime. So these are the two biggest, challenges that any government or any institution currently faces. And one of the things we have done as a government is we have, in fact, embarked on a mission along with NALSAR, to come out with country's first cybercrime legislation, which I believe will set the tone and the benchmark in the rest of the country. Now, what do I mean, and what do I expect, to come out of it? Marya, let's all, understand that while freedom of expression, freedom of speech is important, it is not right to abuse, or it is not right to harass. So therefore, we have to draw that fine line. While it is important in a democracy, and that too in the world's largest democracy, to ensure that freedom of speech is not curtailed, it is also equally important that we understand and respect each other's, private spaces, each other's images as well. Now, one of the most important things, especially in the last, that has been witnessed in the last few years, is a lot of online harassment, especially of women. Now, this is something that we have taken very seriously, and we are in fact, incorporating several elements to ensure that women online, especially if they are targeted or harassed, they should call out, because it is definitely not okay. And we will ensure through our legislation that the strictest of the most stringent punishments would be accorded to any of the perpetrators, irrespective of whatever anonymity that they might take cover under.
I'm sure this legislation will go a long way in enhancing women's safety online. Mr. KTR, I must say this, that you have been quite proactive and have helped several people fight online harassment. We have seen how you came to the rescue of 2 women journalists as well who approached you on social media. Please shed light on the recourse available to everyone to report online and offline harassment, including the role of she teams in your police force.
Well, the first thing is I'd like to point out, there are legislations which are already in place which can actually be used to enforce this very effectively. So one of the legislations that I can refer to is the Union IT Act, which has already been in place for the last 2 decades or more. That can certainly come to the rescue of anyone, in fact, who complains or who feels harassed online, irrespective of gender, actually. But more importantly, like you pointed out, in Telangana, we have made a very specific effort to ensure that our women, our young women, our women, our girl child, are protected from online and offline harassment as well. And so we have formed she teams. We have also come out with a number of initiatives. We have even come out with specific mobile apps. And we also have, like I pointed out, come out with a legislation which will ensure that the stringent and the most strict punishments are given under the IPC to any of those people who have been found to be guilty.
Telangana has also established the Cyber Security Center of Excellence, which acts as a nerve center in Hyderabad to protect, uplift and build a solid ecosystem for cyber security and privacy. What's really the vision behind it? What
is a reality in today's digitally connected world where we have gazillion bytes of data being created every single day is that we are not as secure as we would like to think we are. So therefore, I think each and every one of us, irrespective of whether we are an individual or an institution or a government, I think we all need to take cybersecurity far more seriously. And we as a country, in fact, need to realize that the next war will not be fought on the battlefields. It will be fought in the cyber arena, and it will be one of those wars where not a single drop of blood will be shed directly, but it will hurt economy, it will actually destroy, it has the potential to destroy institutions. So therefore, I think it's extremely important that India and our states take up this very, very seriously, and that is exactly why the government of Telangana has created a center of excellence on cybersecurity. Our agenda and our aim is to actually create employment, at the same time also provide solutions to the rest of the world as well. In fact, we are collaborating with number of startups. We are also collaborating with number of other institutions, countries like Israel, which have done exceedingly well on cybersecurity. Like I said, on one hand, we can create employment through cyber warriors and programs such as that. Simultaneously, we can also ensure that our institutions, our enterprises are made safer by way of this. So I believe that India not only has the ability to provide solutions for our own institutions, but also for the rest of the world.
News18 Network and Truecaller are running a public awareness campaign, Call It Out Because It's Not Okay, to encourage everyone, especially women, to fight harassment while educating them about the resources available to report harassment. How critical do you think, sir, it is to report harassment and to call it out?
I think it's absolutely important. I think to shy away and to even basically feel ashamed about it because somebody's been harassing you or somebody's been basically abusing you is something which should not be encouraged. Because what you permit, if you continue to allow for somebody else to do it, it is indirectly promoting it. So therefore, what I would say is, it's definitely a very, very important initiative of both Network 18 and Truecaller. I congratulate both of you, and I in fact assure you that I will discuss with our Honorable Home Minister, and what we could potentially do is set up a separate cell for those women who would like to call out online abuse. We will happily set up a separate cell and ensure that dedicated resources are provided, dedicated people are provided, human resources are provided, which might help and Telangana become a shining example to the rest of the country on this front.
That certainly is a big promise. And I would say a big achievement of our campaign with Telangana Government now joining us. Mr. KTR, really appreciate that. A separate cell for women who call out online harassment would certainly set a shining example. Through our campaign, we are also educating people about how they can stay safe online through the True Cyber Safe curriculum. In your view, how important is it to follow digital hygiene and apprise ourselves with knowledge about how we can prevent cyber attacks?
Well, I think most of us have learned, after we burnt our fingers, a lot of times, you get cheated, you get abused, you get harassed, and then you learn your lesson the hard way. I think it's extremely important to learn from somebody else's, the smartest of people always learn from somebody else's experiences. So therefore, if we can actually design a curriculum, if we can actually create an awareness campaign and, create digital hygiene, as you called it, I think it's extremely important for all youngsters, irrespective of whether they're men or women, to actually assimilate it and use it to good effect.
And lastly, sir, since you're also the industries and IT minister, what role can private tech companies play in driving the safety agenda? What would be your guidance and advice to them? And please share your thoughts on our campaign through which we want to empower women to take action against harassment and also encourage men, because we think that men have to be a responsible ally and partner in this fight against online and offline harassment.
Well, Marya, firstly, I compliment Network 18 and Truecaller on this lovely initiative, because I think it's extremely important as we are, like I said, becoming more and more reliant on networks and virtual connectivity. I applaud both of you for both the institutions for coming out with this. At the same time, I think it's equally important for all of us to realize that anybody who's using the anonymity as a shield, anonymity as a guise to abuse, harass, firstly, it's absolutely not cool. Secondly, it's actually a crime. So therefore, I think it's equally important to make sure that anyone who's involved in this also understands that what they're up to is actually a crime, and that deterrence by way of actually enforcing legislations, enforcing our acts, we should be setting a great example. The last thing I'd say, I think this whole campaign, call it out because it's not okay, is something that we all ought to take very, very seriously. You ought to involve the private sector. In fact, I would urge the private sector to use your corporate social responsibility funds to further this cause. I know of a number of corporate entities who would be certainly interested. I would also urge celebrities, cricketers, authors, other celebrities, movie stars, other personalities, to also endorse this very strongly and to champion the cause and to spread the good word, to set great example for our youngsters and to ensure that they all behave as we become more and more dependent on the digital infrastructure.
Recognizing that online harassment threatens the safety of women and girls while undermining the strength of our democracy, the Call It Out Telangana Townhall hosted a relevant discussion on the subject of protecting women and girls from harassment in the digital age. Moderated by Marya Shakil, Senior Political Editor, CNN News 18, the panel discussion highlighted the need for a multifaceted approach to ensure online safety. Upasana Kamineni Konidela, the founder of URLife, Vice Chairperson of CSR at Apollo Hospitals and Managing Director of Family Health Plan Insurance TBA Limited, spoke about her experience of online harassment as she shared a powerful message for harassers.
So it started when I came into the public eye. I'm not from this background, and that's what happened with my marriage. And it went on about my personal appearances. I mean, I took it in a very positive way, because I said, if you don't like me, that means you adore my husband, which is good for his career. So that was the way I looked at that. And then after that, it went on and on and on. And continuously people said, oh, you don't know the Telugu language. Now they're asking, oh, you've been married 10 years, you don't have kids. I don't want to talk about it. It's my personal choice. And absolutely nothing is wrong with me. The underlying fact is, do not comment or say anything if you don't have the guts to say it to their face. If you cannot say it to their face, don't put it in the comments. And that is what you're human. That's what actually differentiates you from human to animal. So I think we should go out there and try and help them in the correct way possible. Right now, the person who's being harassed is getting help. I think we should start helping the person who is harassing as well.
Swati Lakra, Additional Director General of Police in Telangana and a member of the committee that formed the SHE team, spoke about distinctive initiatives undertaken by the state to create safe spaces for women and children in the cyber world.
During the pandemic, everyone was in the cyberspace. Everyone was using internet. And that was when we felt that we should do some kind of a survey to find out how really people are coping with the isolation and whether they know the dangers of being in the cyberspace in the first place. So we did a survey, we called it Youngster Conscious, especially for the youngsters. And everyone participated, women also participated. And we came to know that many people didn't know a lot about, what the dangers are in being in the cyberspace. So we started a month-long campaign called Cyber. That was way back in July 2020. And it was a very systematically made program in which we roped in the cyber experts, etc. And it was mostly done online through the social media pages, etc. And we were able to reach out to almost 50 lakh people throughout the country, in fact, not only in Telangana, because it was online. And many of them, in fact, the students, the parents also appreciated that. And therefore, during 2021, again, we started a week-long program, especially for students. And we did it for the students of Hyderabad mostly. And that was also a huge success, actually. During the International Women's Day, we did that. And there was a lot of demand that it should be extended to all schools. And that is where the Cyber Congress came into picture. And we then roped in the education department, the cyber experts, certain NGOs, and of course, through the Women's Safety Wing Telangana Police, we did all the monitoring through our SHE teams.
Reinforcing the need for reforms in cybersecurity laws and emphasizing the role of technology in identifying miscreants on social media was Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary of the Industries and Commerce and Information Technology Departments of the Telangana Government.
Of course, these are very good programs, and one amazing thing about our state is that there are no silos in the government. So everyone kind of collaborates, works together with each other, and many such programs have been initiated. And we also see lots of value in catching them young, telling them at a very impressionable age about the perils of the digital world, while it is important in today's time. But obviously recognize the adverse consequences of digital world, the internet, and awareness is one, but also taking action, some concrete action against it is also very much required. So how can we make our technology so sophisticated that we pull out all such kind of deviant behaviors on the net and presume that someone who is showing so much of deviancy in his digital world at some point in time or the other is going to be a real threat to people out there, to real people out there. So I guess this is the evolution of technology that we require. In Telangana, we ourselves are thinking of introducing a state-specific cyber law in which certain responsibilities are going to be cast upon the platforms, the digital intermediaries. The digital penetration is going to become many, many folds more. And lots of first generation users are also going to come to digital. Digital is also being encouraged in the vernacular. So it's going to explode like never before. And therefore, how to handle these adverse consequences, etc., is very, very important. But I'll reiterate something which I've been mentioning since a while, which is that, see, the digital world has been made easily accessible, low entry barriers for a purpose, and also anonymous so that more and more people use it and obviously benefit from it. But as we have all understood, there are certain elements who have their own kind of personality weaknesses, etc., who also get into it. So I still feel that it is possible to identify such people at an early stage, red flag some of their digital behavior, and maybe keep an eye on them. And it's not to say that there's no, the wherewithal with all the large companies and even with the government is not there, but definitely much more coordinated effort is needed. This will also make internet a safer place.
The insightful discussion came to an end with Pragya, Director of Public Affairs at Truecaller, talking about the company's mission of making communication safer with a sharp focus on women's safety. She also gave a glimpse of the remarkable impact that the anti-harassment campaign, Call It Out Because It's Not Okay, is having on people's lives.
The issue of women's safety is something which is really close to our heart, and it percolates all the way from our founders who believe that our mission is to actually build trust in communication by making sure that it's safe and efficient. And this is particularly important, and which is why we've been doing this campaign for the last 5 years. Of course, we've upped the ante this year, and we launched on the 29th of March. We did our first on-ground event in Delhi, a national-wide campaign, and now we thought it's very important to, go deeper and bring it to states. And which other state but Telangana, because, you're sort of front runners when it comes to technology, innovation, research, and even regulating technology platforms. And I think we generally welcome regulation, because there must be balance. If there is an opportunity for us to express ourselves on social platforms, there should also be a way to make sure that others are not getting, I would say, harmed in any way. What we are trying to do, just beyond what we can do on our platform, is actually go out and do a bunch of online trainings, do it in 5 states and 5 regions, and go to schools, colleges, even corporates, go to police officers, local administration, and talk about the rules of the road. What is the digital etiquette that folks must be following? One of the key initiatives that we rolled out during this time was actually with the Ministry of Home at the center, where, I'm sure we all faced oxygen concentrator calls and remdesivir and Fabiflu, and people posing to actually supply all of this to you. And when you actually in that desperate situation transferred significant amounts of money, they pretty much disappeared. And so a lot of these people went out and filed FIRs. And what we did is work with the Ministry of Home and marked a number of these numbers as COVID fraud on our platform. So when they picked up the phone and tried to call their next victim, they had a lot more context. They knew that this was somebody who was committing fraud. And so you chose not to take that call. And I feel, therefore, Truecaller is playing a pretty significant role, not just in women's safety, but more largely around safety in digital communication, and specifically around women. We have about 50% of our user base in India using Truecaller, and they use it as their first line of defense. And that's because when you have context and you know who's calling you, you have the ability to, of course, block them when you're talking to them. But when you block them, everyone else in the community gets more context that, hey, watch out, this is not somebody you should be speaking or picking up the phone on. But what we've done this year with Call It Out is actually take a step forward and say, please go ahead and report it to the authorities, because that is the only way you're going to be able to minimize harassment in society. And that's what is really critical. And, we went ahead and also pinned these numbers on our quick dial option on our app, so that, when you're in a vulnerable situation, and I'm sure Swati ji has seen many victims talk about their story, you're very nervous, you're anxious, you don't know where to go. And these are the ways where Truecaller wants to make sure that we empower you in that moment to be able to reach out to authorities and get help.
The Call It Out Telangana Townhall was another significant step in an effort to put an end to women harassment.